You may not like it, okay, but this is what peak RPG performance looks like. Welcome back to the 15-minute depression session where I slander classics. As recently as September, I was looking for fantasy game recommendations after Dragon's Dogma and saw a familiar name pop up, one I hadn't tried, and its remake was just around the corner. Kingdoms of Amalur looks extremely good on paper. Above average score, this absurdly stacked staff. You know, some real Justice League shit going on. We're talking Mark Nelson and Ken Rolston, important designers from Morrowind and Oblivion. R.A. Salvatore, creator of Dritz Do'Urden. So important, he's got several books, games, and a 5e stat block. Okay, Todd McFarlane on the old MS Paint, his most recognizable work being Necrid and, this Skull Guy or something, and the much acclaimed Grant Kirkhope. Guess the money wasn't great, because in 2012, he also composed for Fart Cat. I can't with this stupid crap anymore, dude. I'm done. Now, I know what you're thinking. KBash, this sounds like a suspicious setup that leads into comedic disappointment, but those words are in quotation marks. Yes, this is all scripted. I heard a lot about Amalur before ever touching it. It had fun, rewarding combat, a deep, immersive world, tons of character oozing from its sores. Kingdoms of Pee-Pee Poopa time. I'm done. January revenue sucks! There's an intro. Let's skip it. Good old character creation. I love fantasy character makers. You can make sweaty green men, bisexual devilkin to ignite the fears of your Christian parents. You can even make me. It's me. But in Amalur, you get 2 humans and 2 elves. Epic! Let me ask you something. You ever played a game that immediately made you think, man, maybe Fable's not so bad? I can't speak to the original. This is Rereckoning, the remaster, and from what I hear, the original holds up pretty well today, but seeing as they didn't tweak much in regards to mechanics, I'm willing to bet they're more or less the same with some notable improvements in the current iteration. And yet, I think of Amalur as a bimbo fantasy game. 3 words: pretty, popular, plastic. Sexist language, perhaps, but this is the sacrifice I make. My burden to bear, that I might write a 3-piece alliteration in lieu of anything better. And we'll get back to these points, but let's cut to the premise. You're above fate. You died, came back because reasons, and now you're no longer bound by the great tapestry, so like guts, without having to work for it. That means no consequences. Play the bad guy, rob the gnome, who cares? I'm above you. Definitely no deeper implications to that. It really is that callous, too. World's got these people who can see your fate. Agarth here does that, and he's like, okay, weird. I can't see your fate. So in the middle of a bandit attack, you slow time and simply choose not to die. You killed those men. Oh my god. This is an action RPG, very much in line with the Fables, and to a lesser extent, Dragon's Dogmas of the Gamosphere. The world's a lot to take in. It's big. There's tons of sights to see. It delights with saturated colors and impressive lighting in many environments, except the caves, which are universally lit pseudo-realistically, so all my indoor footage looks like snot. Well, you know, drown me in color and bury me in black. It's not about the main quest with these kinds of games, but the fun you make on the way to the payoff, the plot coupon redemption. The journey's fun enough for about 5 hours, and no kidding, right? You're testing out your character, poking around where you don't belong, really digging in there, stuffing your piggy bank with NPC requests, but it fades with time, as the game plays itself out the same way again and again, and those levels lose their charm, color fades, and you realize level design isn't as much level design as environment beautification, rimmed only with crafting material nodes. At least there's some geographical variance. Oh no, no! Will KBash edit an explosion, a knee crush into Scream, or something original? Actually, we ran out of budget on this one. But fear not, wary adventurer, we're playing Rereckoning. Sometimes the world itself tries to kill you, not the player character, you. My eyes! Ah! But fear not, blinded traveler, there's a trillion quests, hidden treasure, home ownership, no marriage, I'm shocked, smithing, and a bunch of other crafting stuff. I feel like stuff is a good word here. Sadly, your smithed gear will be replaced by the random epic you pulled from a chest on the side of the road. Nice skill placement, bro. And you mostly wander around the countryside helping incompetent nitwits. There's a lot of things to do, but about 3 ways to do them, and all of them are combat. So, your combat is your class. There are 3 classes. There is 1 combat. there is one class. Okay. Amalur gets a lot of praise for its combat. It's got a wiki on Fextra Life. Jason Schreier used the word polished. Oh my. Harumph. Polished is it, I say, swirling my wine glass. Have I played too many action games, or are the ants eating my brain? Even games like Fable, with their extremely simple combat, end up being more fun because combat feels, overall, pretty tameable and kinetic. A lot of charge and release to and on. Dragon's Dogma is literally an action game held back by the RPG. Amalur, by comparison, is the kid really trying to impress you with a Fortnite dance, but you've already seen it 1,000 times. That, or the kid's about to launch into another that you've already seen 1,000 times. But let's talk classes and mechanics. I won't skimp the discussion. The three base classes are Warrior, Rogue, and Mage. You can respec at a Fate Weaver for a nominal fee. Do it early to figure yourself out. I went Rogue to Warrior to Mage to Rogue over a single playthrough. Your class is determined by the card you pick, which provides a relevant stat boost. The Rogue cards, for example, boost range and stealth damage, etc. Where it gets half complicated is mixing skill trees, adding points in more than one. To keep yourself sane, running all the way down a tree won't hurt, and mixing only gets good at higher levels, where you'll have greater access to complementary cross-tree skills. It's actually kind of shocking how limited ability selection is despite these huge trees, and it gets extremely noticeable after a few encounters playing as every class. So classes. Warriors are the necessary evil that should always be made dynamic and enjoyable to offset what other classes do so much more stylishly. So in Amalur, you attack pretty slow, focus on guarding, parrying, and just being fat, I guess, and use this one ability to never receive knockback. In short, warriors pop a buff and mash until dead. You get a couple bonus moves and they aren't very good. Next class. Rogues are a staple of Western RPGs. Someone's gotta pick the locks, persuade the town guard, stab the people. Man, I never get tired of that. Sadly, anyone can take lockpicking and persuasion, but this is Amalur. They put Illidan Warglaives in their game. Cool stuff. Only daggers do so much more damage up front, backstab better. Thankfully, they kneecapped the strongest weapon type in Rereckoning by glitching its charge attack so it almost never hits. Even when it does nothing, and there's no patch in sight. I'm absolutely pissing in joy. Even more frustrating is the class probably works best with bows, which I hate outright, so I went with the backstab everything approach. I'm guessing it's a trick of the attack prompt, but I failed at least 50% of my backstabs, and getting one almost never allowed another because the animations linger so long. They look great, yes, but not when it's to the detriment of the class. A rogue becomes a warrior focused on dodging. At least you can enter stealth with a small radius smoke bomb on a 20-second cooldown, or whatever. Mages are the best class, or should be, with the most unique abilities, the most impressive looking spells, having their dodge roll turn into a nifty blink, a skill tree that supports melee mages and their impressive stabs. You have so many options at your disposal that the game can feel in the lightest possible sense. Like Frost Mage PvP, if you've played it. Very flowcharty, but optimizable. The only reason the class tends to bore is the limited skill selection. Once you've seen it, and that's it. It's hard to overstate how repetitive the game gets over 20 hours, and it's why I'll repeat. Ultimately, the three classes are the same. They all solve combat by engaging, unloading your damaging abilities, dodging when necessary, and more bizarrely, blocking and parrying attacks you can't. Warriors may have kite shields, rogues may have bucklers, and mages may have glyphs, but they're all shields, and they all block damage. All classes share fundamentals, meaning eventually they bleed together. In terms of the RPG, you can still spec hard into stealth and lockpicking as a mage, sagecraft and dispelling as a warrior. It's frustrating. The game's way more concerned with you being able to do whatever than make meaningful role-playing choices, than allowing you to truly specialize, which I'd argue is half the fun of an RPG in the first place. And the combat, fun as it can be, in wiggly spurts, still feels totally abnormal. I'm sorry, I've been playing all kinds of things with crispy button hits and fast attacks. Amalur feels lumpy. Your own attacks are fine, though both you and the enemies you face have a tendency to slide much farther than expected into combat. It takes a long time to adjust to enemies who are constantly gum-no-pistoling into your hurt box. Attacks on most enemies stagger them, but other enemies simply choose not to be staggered. Some attacks can be guarded and parried with ease. Others just never work out. I'm really into control systems and action combat, but I never felt like I totally understood what I was playing, what the devs wanted me to do at any given time. So I often just mashed daggers into enemy eyes until I needed to dodge. Not shooting much above Fable there, huh? Thankfully, you can animation cancel mostly anything except for dodges and already cast spells, and that's definitely a win on the technical front. But much of the game revolves not around using block or dodge well, but staggering even giant foes and pounding them into sludge. It wants to have defensive options, technical elements, but there's only a need against the obnoxious ranged mages, among others. Rest of the game's Oingo Boingo Town. And the worst thing is the fate-bending mechanic, just peerlessly bad. Remember, you're God, and that means you don't lose. So if you're ever tired, or struggling, or bored, or bad, you can just dump that purple bar and transcend time and space. Slow everyone down, beat them all up, and then execute the biggest one for a chunky XP bonus. That'd all be great, except for the part where, you know, you save it until you fight the one challenging thing you fight every 30 minutes, and erase the challenge.
I will grind your bones to dust.
Nah, I don't really feel like it.
Your death is only the beginning.
No! I'm tired of losing! I wanna win! At least the execution animations are sick. Maybe a little too sick. Maybe a little too... Oh god. I'm gonna puke. To cap off the combat discussion, sometimes Fate mode doesn't trigger the dark screen, but everyone's still slowed. Re-reckoning. Worth the money. Let's get back to the quest for a bit. The story doesn't matter. Go place, kill boss. Done. I was mostly excited by the potential of the environments when I loaded in because, like I said, this game is unapologetically beautiful, and a lot of time was clearly spent making the forests near the start of the game look great. Unfortunately, that wanes a whole lot as the game goes, and environments become washed in samey palettes, or worse, the grass is just default green. I think they might have 5 or so sets of cave assets that you walk through like 5 times a piece. Fantasy worlds are great because they can be anything, not just like 60 or 20 FPS depending on the environment, right? But genuinely anything the artists can envision. Fantasy as a genre struggles with endless tropes ranging from the parcel geography to the Tolkien derivative inhabitants. So how does Amalur shatter the preconceptions? How does it become an immersive new fantasy world? It doesn't really. Setting aside that there are no children or anything but able-bodied adults in towns, the races are mostly what you'd expect. Humans are the hot blood young race with infinite potential. Elves are ancient, mystical, and live in forests, though notably ugly and troll doll-esque this time around. Ogres are stupid. There are Greek statue people. The real draw, obviously, are the gnomes that absolutely litter the game. Seriously, who likes gnomes? It's the lesser dwarf, the race that didn't get into Warcraft 3. Here, they're introing the game, featured doing dramatic stuff. They live in a desert in a Roman Empire-styled city with little gnomon centurion guards?
You're just a little bruiser, aren't you?
Did they seriously write a bunch of shit on a dartboard and let fly? They're a Family Guy cutaway gag. Are you kidding me? Of all the expectations to subvert, they went with gnomes to be taken seriously. Cue the applause. I was more shocked when the gnomes tried to assassinate me. Felt like the game was saying, yeah, go ahead, roast the little dirt little person. They even gave the gnomes a unique execution animation where you just bat them like a tossed ball. I feel like I'm one outburst away from inviting a formal complaint by the LPA. Of the many places you visit, few are anything more than a new backdrop to the same sorts of things you did in the first town, and true enjoyment has to come from your own personal investment in the adventure. Mileage may vary. The adventure continues smoothly until the final level, where the game decides you simply haven't played enough. Piss off, kid, and don't come back until you're the requisite level. Counterpoint game, how'd I get here at level 17 from the last quest if I need 22 to advance? Thankfully, we're playing Re-Reckoning. DLC's all included. Amalur's got the most This Is DLC ever, except without really cool rewards, like a Master Chief outfit. Or a gun. Instead, you walk into the first town of Re-Reckoning, open the chest in the center of the town, and get loaded with high-level items because they thought, okay, just dump that shit right there. Level 1, nobody's actually gonna play the game. Dodged that bullet early on, but the other DLCs are fairly lengthy questing zones. Discover the mystery of ancient Greece Colossi people, and the one fairly mechanical boss fight in the game. Discover the horror of Dead Kel, Undead Pirate. That name just is not very intimidating. I don't know, man. You know, both of these areas are attractive and decent to run through, give you more stuff, have plenty to do, lots to see. I'm just exceedingly tired. What do you want from me? What's this, a portal to the world below? Whatever, it's more levels. That's the value. Buys your ticket to beat the game. That'll be $20. I can't help but feel like they could have used these as endgame content zones so there was something to do after the main story. Because it's just more kill-acting, as it were. You're not getting the Kingdom Hearts super boss here. Even Fable, as much as I dunked on it, has things to do post-game that maybe matter to some people. Amalur's just more of itself. What fun. Pan to the final boss, embarrassingly named Gadflow. Like, Gadfly. That's an intimidating name. Kinda looks like an emaciated Kill Jaden the Deceiver, but nope, it's Gadflow. Gadflow kinda sucks because you bug him a few times throughout the game, but he sees you as an annoyance, kinda hypes you up to kill the guy in single combat. Yeah, I'd say that's fair. So when the actual final boss is a dragon, Gadflow just dies. Damn, I really can't express the hit of catharsis I just got. Dang, and then you saved the world that characters whom you met and learned to love reside within.
Go, my friend. Enjoy this world and all of its splendors.
Yo, this place!
Execution level next, no way to explain it. I'm XXX, triple X rated.
Hey, it's KBash. Special thanks goes out to my $4 patrons, whose names are on the screen. The show's on its way somewhere good thanks to the community's generosity. And special thanks goes out to my extra generous patrons who are 1307, Azero, Basement Dweller, Beverage Crisp, Boha, Brandon, Brios, Cal, Caesar T, Chief, Cordant, Chris A, Cody Golden, Corgi the Lad, Couch MOBA, CW Glassworks, Kyle Laprede, Dakota Storm Jones, Dara, David Castillo, Den Het, Don't Worry About It, Dylan Coffee, Exa, Frankenstitch, Guard Corey, Gucci Plant, Hatsune Miku's Crack House, Harkaj, Huey, Ingenious Clown, Ice Kyle, Jason Lasky, Jaden, J-Daz, John Weber, Joke Frog, Justin Sherry, Keegan Too Cool, Keith Myers, Kelvin, Creighton, Crazy Dark Chocolate, Latrix, Laundry Mom, Lego Sid, Liam, Lon, Lucas Phoenix, Magical Madman, Marcules, Marmato, Maximilian Wolfgang Niver, Milky Moo Official, Mitchellanius, Mr. Dodongo, Miles Burris, Nito Torpedo, Old Burgle, Only LK, Pink Peacock, Quasar McDougal, Quillworth, Quinn, Reggie Rodriguez, Ricochet Frame, Sagitrash, Siren Smells Good, Salty Smasher, Sekai no Awarida, Seamus Nerd, Shod, Simp God, Special Children, Spooky Grimalkin, Sublime Cataclysm, Super Sandwich Guy, Tenken Zephyrborn, TFY Lex, The Big Bubby, The Salt Knight, They Call Me Gambit, Thrips Heartrop, Travis Edwards, Twiddle Chungus, V01156, Venom, Viewers Like You, Vic, Walter Taggart, Waposa, Weeb Trash, Well Shit, Yay Kundo, Zachary V, Zanaso, Zane the Impure, Zane the Pure, Zed Slayer Gamer. If you'd like to help support the show and make it even better, check out my Patreon. We've got all kinds of goals and lots of rewards in store. Stay tuned for more. KBash out.